Hello, everyone, and welcome to my interactive Facebook Live. I've got a fantastic guest speaker here for you today. I'm doing a live interview with Hamish, Irvine photographer, and he's got some amazing wedding planning tips and hints for you to share later in the video. We have prepared some questions for you, but as we're going through this interactive Facebook Live, go ahead and ask the questions in the comments below. Before we get started, I'm just going to go through a couple of housekeeping things here. So what we're going to go through today initially is a little introduction, and we will obviously follow through with an interview. And right at the end of our Facebook Live, there will be an open Q&A. And this doesn't mean that you don't need to ask questions through the live. We highly encourage questions because actually the more questions there is, the more interactive we can make it and more relevant for you as well. So all questions are highly encouraged. And Hamish has got so much experience that he would love to share with you as well. And if you can make it a little bit more relevant to what you're after, then that would be quite useful for you as well. And today we're actually using a streaming software called StreamYard. So you might have seen in the description that there's a little link giving permission to share your name. And so if you wanted to pop comments or questions, if you click that little link, it will just give us permission to share your name. If that's not something that you would want to do, you can just share your comments below without that permission, and you can just pop your name before a question or a comment, and that way we can respond to you directly. Also, one other thing that I wanted to mention is that we're kind of hoping to have about 45 minutes with you today. So we will be going through quite a few things with you today as well. If you're watching us live, then go ahead and take a wee selfie of yourself. And if you tag us in your selfies, we can share them across further into the world to maybe other couples that would be interested in this video as well. And if you're watching us on repeat, these videos will remain in my Facebook page and also my group interactive Facebook Lives with the Wedding Guru Oskar, where we will be able to answer any follow-on questions. So if you're watching us on repeat, comment #repeat in the comment box below, and that way we will get notified of your comments and we'll be able to come back to you with questions as well. And know that Hamish is currently streaming to his page, so there will be hopefully a few more of you joining us just now as well. I see a few more faces joining us to this live video, so I'm just going to give it a couple more minutes before we get started. Let's see, we've got a wee comment here. Hello, lovely Facebook user. If you wanted to share your name in the little description right above the video, and there is a little permission link to StreamYard, which will show your name. If you prefer not to do that, then you can just pop your name in the comments, and that way we'll be able to answer the question specifically to yourselves and address you in the video as well. Okay, I think we've got quite a nice group of people with us already, so we'll get started. So let's go to the next slide. So a little bit about myself. My name is Oskar. I am the Wedding Guru Oskar. I have been in the wedding industry for the past 10 years, but I have actually started the Wedding Guru Oskar just back in November of last year, just before COVID. Interesting times, definitely. But before that, I've worked with luxury 4- and 5-star hotels and wedding venues throughout Scotland, delivering weddings on the day as well as planning weddings. So initially in my career, I was looking after the operational side of weddings, acting master of ceremonies, looking after couples from the moment of arrival on the morning of the wedding, all the way to the point of them going to bed and tucking them into bed. That's just a joke. But after that, that was 4.5 years of my initial career, and then I've moved to wedding planning specifically. And I've done that for a portfolio of 3 luxury city centre venues in Edinburgh. And at that point, I've looked after over 100 weddings across 3 properties. So that's where I had wealth of my experience actually in wedding planning specifically, and guiding couples from the moment of inquiry through the entire wedding planning process, many tastings, catch-up appointments, final details planning, and also coordinating weddings on the day as well. Recently, I have joined a marketing platform called Wedding Dates, where I was supporting all the venues throughout Scotland with their marketing efforts and also wedding planning support, which was absolutely outstanding. I've met so many fantastic contacts that way, and I've got brilliant connections in the wedding industry from that role as well. And over the career of mine, I have been very fortunate to have contributed to publications with the biggest wedding blog, Love My Dress, the biggest Jewish wedding blog, Smashing the Class, and many publications with Tidy Knot Scotland and Scottish Wedding Magazine as well. In the last 4 years, I have been also very fortunate and humbled by the nominations of my capos for Scottish Vows Awards and also Scottish Hotel Awards, which I have been recognised with as well. But enough about me. I am now going to hand it over to Hamish. Hamish, I'm just going to pop you up on the screen.
Hello. Hamish. Yeah, I'm good. It's so good to be here, and we are live.
Good to see you. Thank you very much for joining us today. I'm super excited for your interview. We've got so many amazing things that you can show us today as well. And I've actually worked with Hamish on a couple of projects as well, and his photography just blows my mind. And so I'm super excited, Hamish, definitely.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, we worked together at Broxworth Park, which is like such a beautiful wedding in East Lothian. Incredible. Thank you for using the images so much. It's
absolutely. Great to see. I think especially like the colors and the lighting that you can capture is absolutely incredible. We're getting quite a few hellos and highs there. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining. If you want to pop your name before the comments, we can share them up on the screen as well. But enough of me talking. I'm going to go ahead, Hamish, and I'm going to ask you the first of our 6 questions today.
Oh, here we go.
So, Hamish, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, well, I am obviously a wedding photographer. I'm based in Leeds, so lovely Leeds in Yorkshire, where I've been working for a couple of years now since I graduated university. But I photograph all across the country. I think on your screens right now, that's an image in London outside the Gherkin. So you can kind of see that's the Gherkin in the middle. And I think for me, my photography is kind of the biggest part of my life. And it's been a bit sad recently to kind of have it go out the window a little bit. But I think if you ask me about myself, I think for me, mostly things are about like, I'm a real people person, and that's kind of what I feed in. I love my jazz music. That's kind of all across my flat right now. Like there's some posters up. Probably you can see there's some house plants in here as well. I love those. If this is what defines me, then maybe those 2 things. But yeah, I love my job, which kind of comes fed through what I kind of love doing in my personal life, which is hanging out with friends, kind of being with people who you love and just capturing that love and emotion. So with the photography, that's kind of what I'm all about. It's strange.
Perfect. Okay. That's a brilliant answer. Perfect. I'm just going to check before we head over to question number 2 if we've got any questions. I think we're all good. Guys, don't be shy. Pop over the questions in the comments below. And like I said at the start of the video, the more questions we've got, the more interactive we can make it and a lot more relevant to you as well. I'm sure Hamish will cover quite a lot in his advice bit, which is towards the end of the video today. But if you've got any specific questions about wedding photography or just wedding planning in general, pop the comments in the box below and we'll come around to answering them as well. Again, a few hellos there. Thank you very much, guys, for joining. If we've got no more questions just now, Hamish, I'm going to start over with the second question. So, Hamish, what makes your role, your business unique? Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, you've already mentioned actually, the biggest thing for me is color. I absolutely love bringing as much color into my photography, and that's kind of how I see the world. I think there's a lot of photography out there that is absolutely incredible, and there's so many different styles of wedding photography, and there's a lot of like paled out colors, and I'm just one of those photographers who just loves to bring out the vibrance in everything, and kind of that's why I like photographing so much emotion as well. So yeah, I kind of want to bring. I always say that I want to photograph a wedding so that someone who wasn't there at the wedding, when they look through the photographs, they really feel like they were there. So that's why I like that natural, colorful vibe. And yeah, that image that's actually on the screen right now is that's actually a really sad, powerful, emotional image of this incredible bride, phallic. This is a Muslim wedding ceremony. And if anyone doesn't know, like this is quite an emotional day. On the first of the 2 days of a Muslim wedding, the bride's love that photo. That's good. The bride's family kind of passes over the bride to the groom's family, and that's where you start sharing your families together. And it's a really emotional moment as the bride steps into the car. And this is Fal's grandfather here saying goodbye. It was just really powerful moment. And those are the kind of images I'm looking for. So I think this uniqueness that I'm looking for in wedding photography is a lot in this documentary style. But yeah, the color is what I like to think is unique about it. But yeah, I kind of love documentary photography. I'm not really big into posing. I do, I kind of like to say that I'm more compose rather than pose, which is where I like to put a couple in a situation instead of more trying to make you kind of look like you're in Vogue or something. That's not really me. Yeah, I'm sure there's some more. I think there's some more photographs coming up where I can better explain that. But yeah, like for me, the uniqueness is kind of this colorful emotion that comes through. And as I was saying, awkwardly, as I said, who am I? I think, yeah, I am that people person. That's what I'm hunting for a wedding. So yeah, I think the uniqueness in, that's my father. Thanks, Dad. Good for you. That's my biggest fan club here. If there's any brides of mine, thanks so much for joining us, Dad. Thank you as well for joining. But you're laughing there. Yeah, so I think what's unique about my work is the color, and really getting to know my brides and grooms and couples. I think something that's huge for me is I get to know all of my couples like friends before the wedding, a bit like you do, Oskar. Once you build that really great relationship, that isn't really just a working relationship. It's about being there on the day and being a friend. And one of the greatest things I hear after a wedding, I think it's actually the greatest compliment for me to receive, or just feedback even, is people say like, oh, was he actually your photographer? Is he just your friend? And that's exactly what I want to be like. I want to be this guy who's just there on the day, just capturing these documentary photographs that really just capture the couple and all of their friends having the best day. So I think that's a really broad way of saying what makes me unique, but every photographer is really unique. And I think my personality is a big part of it, and getting to know you guys so that I can get into these moments like what's on the screen right now. It's really powerful. I mean, I was thrusting myself into a car right here. Like that's the reflection on the right-hand side, like the car window reflecting some lights. But yeah, it's about being on the ball. But that was a very long-winded answer, but I hope that gets
that's perfect.
Yeah.
I think,
and if anyone has any questions, send them through. Sorry, Oskar.
Absolutely. No, I think one of the things that I've always seen in your photography is you capture the moment, and the vibrance and the intensity of color just speaks the volume. So absolutely, I think you're spot on with that being a USP for your business and for yourself as well. So great for that.
Yeah,
okay,
I just think sorry, I was gonna no, go ahead. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Perfect. Guys, go ahead, send us across your questions. I see we've got quite a few beautiful comments that I wanted to share on the screen, so I'm glad you can see them, Hamish, as well. Guys, any questions at all? I know this is more kind of the starting point for us. We'll go into much kind of deeper wedding planning advice and wedding photography advice in a few questions. But if you've got any questions, pop them in the comments below. If you've just joined us, we are streaming live to my Facebook page and my group, which is the interactive Facebook Lives with the Wedding Guru, Oskar. All the questions are feeding through to us, so go ahead and post them below, and we will come back to you as we're going through the lives as well. If you are watching us on repeat, comment #repeat and we'll be able to answer questions later on as well. We will have an official Q&A right at the end of the session, but let's get moving to the next question, Hamish. So the next question, question number 3 is, anything you've been particularly proud of in your career this far?
Yeah, I think there's a lot to say here. I mean, I'm really lucky to have the job that I have, being a wedding photographer, being in almost like the proudest moments of a lot of wedding guests and couples' lives. So I think it's almost, I think one of the proudest moments for me in terms of even just the job is just being when you realize that it's such a privilege to be allowed into individuals' lives, almost into private lives and capture relationships between people. And I think you feel really, I feel really proud when I'm in those moments that I'm almost been trusted to do this, because it's a big thing to be trusted with, to go and photograph someone's wedding. And I think it's those moments when you get there, and just one of those moments is when, for me, which I love, is when father of the bride or groom passes over the hand to get married. You can really capture a connection there, or just the moment when a parent sees their son or daughter dressed up, and it's a massive monumentous day. So kind of, I feel proud that I'm there to do it, and that feels amazing. But I'd say, like, what I feel proud about is that I'm really pleased at the moment in my career. I'm still quite young in my career. I photographed a lot of weddings, second shooting with a lot of photographers, and I feel really proud that my business has got going quite quickly. I've been photographing for 2 years now, and really fortunate to be, I would have been shooting 53 weddings this year, which I just think is amazing. And I'm just really proud of being able to have that. And I also I should have said this in the first question, but I take 2 months off. I'm planning to, still am, but I take the first 2 months off of every year to go traveling. I absolutely love traveling, backpacking around, and that's where I get a lot of my inspiration from. So I went to South America, went to Colombia and Ecuador in January and February, which was just amazing, and basically get inspired by everything going on there. And I think I feel proud that I can have my wedding photography job, which I'm really in love with, and in love with all my clients. And then at the same time, I'm really lucky to be able to have this time where I can go and get inspired by doing street photography in South America, or I went to Vietnam years ago and went by myself, got a motorbike and took a 1956 film camera and shot the whole trip on that. And being able to bring those, basically be inspired by the real world and bring it into photography, my own business, is really great. So I'm really proud that I can do that. And also, I don't just photograph weddings, I also photograph all kinds of weird and crazy things. Like I photograph squash, the sport. I don't know. I never really show it that much out there. Most people what, you photograph the fruit or the vegetable or the Robinson's fruit? No, it's actually the sport, bizarrely. So I kind of have some links there, and I photograph portraits of the world's top players, usually at the World Championships that the squash has. And I'm proud that I can do that at the same time as do the weddings. And so, there you go. I think that's my answer.
Brilliant, fantastic. I've actually got a couple of questions.
Have we? Okay.
So Juliet here says, your photos are amazing. As an excited bride to be, it has booked Hamish. How do you keep your brides and grooms relaxed to produce such gorgeous images at weddings pre-wed shoot?
Oh, Juliet, thank you so much for tuning in. Great to hear from you guys. This is a big question. I get asked this so much, and rightly so. I think it's one of the biggest parts of wedding photography is keeping your bride and groom, or your couples and even your guests and the family relaxed, so that you can kind of take these images that get really intimate and really capture personality. So I'd say the main thing for me, which is definitely getting to know my brides and grooms like they're my best friends, like I said earlier. And so when I come in, I feel like that friend. So Yeah, and yeah, so for me, if you book me, you get a pre-wedding shoot. So that's where I kind of take the couple maybe a month or two before the big day, and we'll go for a walk, usually go for a pint, like have a really like good time as friends, not as like client and business. And basically it's through this kind of relaxed photo shoot that sounds really weird. To have a photo shoot of a couple outside of a wedding in a casual time or casual attire is a bit weird. And that's a massive part of how I keep my couples relaxed. And pre-wedding shoot is quite daunting. I'm pretty sure Juliet's fiance is pretty daunted by it after meeting you guys briefly at Denton Hall. Sorry, that's me speaking directly to them. It's kind of like it's a really good way of kind of breaking that wall between camera and client. And what you realize is that I'm really just trying to get fun photographs of you guys as you naturally are together, not posing you to make you look like something you're not. And then once the photographs come out of this like hour or 2 hour long photo shoot, however long we want to make it, everyone always loves them, and then they share them with their friends and family. And through that confidence building, when it comes to the wedding day, like half the wedding, like all the family, maybe half the wedding guests have seen the images, and it's that confidence building where you've seen the images of yourself and you're like, this guy is going to be able to take photos of us, and we feel relaxed to let him come in on our day. And that's why I feel proud that I can come in and get to know people like I'm friends with them. So yeah, thank you so much for asking the question, Juliet. I was so honoured that you.
We've got plenty more for you, Hamish.
And also, congratulations to Leeds United for Juliet, by the way. Sorry, let's go ahead.
Perfect.
Yeah.
We've got another statement, more than a question, but again, it kind of affirms things that you've just talked about as well. Is holding back the tears for those kinds of moments and trying to stay professional is so hard. I think somebody is kind of feeling what you're talking about there.
Yeah, this sounds like a professional asking this question, or just saying this. Yeah, I like to say that I'm a pretty emotional guy, and yeah, I think that's what it's actually quite difficult to try and keep photographing. I've got to be honest, it doesn't happen like that often. Like it's got to be quite a unique moment for me to really like get into it. Like I'll tell the story. Like my favorite moment was I was photographing like the most gorgeous same-sex wedding in Leyburn in North Yorkshire, and the two guys, like one of their brothers is a professional musician, and he sang this beautiful Elvis Presley song. I can never remember what it's called, and he was just there to sing in the middle of the ceremony, like in between readings, or like almost as a reading, and everyone started singing in this like little room, beautiful place. And it's that kind of thing where like, and everyone's faces are beaming, and there you're like, I want to sing as well. But you end up going like, no, keep shooting. So yeah, it is. But people, I think it's really good to connect to those moments. So as a professional, like it's if you're a florist, or or even a wedding band, and if you connect with your clients on the level that they connect with their guests, then that's probably like the best way of being professional, because you understand what's going on. So yeah, Facebook, it's I'm sure Oskar knows what I mean as well. Like you've
got the connection, it works. That's it.
Yeah, and you get to know your clients so well. Like the last clients that you were talking to me about, you're on the phone to them like all the time. You're just chatting to them every day, which is really nice.
Brilliant. That's brilliant. Fantastic part of the job. We've got a question thing relating to the film that you used when you travelled. I'm just going to pop it on the screen.
Okay. So it's got to be Portra 400, Kodak Portra 400 when it's color. So yeah, for any photography geeks, that's definitely my favorite type of photography film. It's quite expensive, but it's worth it. And then when it comes to working in the darkroom, because I shot a lot on black and white, so I did a lot of the photography in a black and white darkroom. I used Kodak T-Max. So this is a real geeky good one, but yeah, that's what I use. And now I've gotten really onto Kodak Ektar for using on my Rolleiflex camera. That's like a really nice cold bleached out color tone. So for any nerds out there, that's what I'm enjoying photographing on at the moment, as well as positive slide film. That's really fun. So that's the most nerdiest question. But yeah, very good. Good question.
And Juliet said, haha, thanks.
Thanks, Juliet.
Brilliant. Okie
Yeah.
dokie. Fantastic. I'm just checking if there's any more comments. We're fine just now, up to speed. Guys, thank you very much for all the comments so far. It's super amazing to see this interaction. So if there's any more questions or comments, pop them in the comment box below and we'll go through them as we're progressing in the interview. So Hamish, moving on to the next question for you. So you will have been at weddings as a best man, as an usher, as a guest. What first-hand advice would you like to give wedding planning couples based on that experience?
I think this is a pretty good question for like anyone to be asked who has been to a wedding, because everyone has experienced their own stresses, be that stresses or like really great moments going on. But I think my first-hand advice in terms of me being there, especially in the morning, like actually this image on screen really helps like articulate this. Like it could be really stressful in the morning, and rightly so. Like you've got for a bride, let's say a bride, getting into a dress, getting out in time. You've got makeup and hair. There's no room in the room. Everything's going crazy, and that happens at most weddings, and that's kind of one of the great things about it, and that's quite challenging as a photographer to be around. But for my own like experience of that, I always think that just none of these things can ever be avoided, but accepting that the chaos is okay. The chaos is a good thing. Things can't be perfect. I mean, the term bridezilla is a thing, but it's rightly so a thing. But there's no way of ever kind of saying like don't do that. But what I'd say is that it's okay to do that. I think like when I see stressing out in the morning over things that necessarily don't need to be potentially stressed about at the time, it's more accepting in that moment that this is the time that we've got, these are the resources that we've got, and prioritizing what's important. So you can see like it's just stress management, and absolutely so difficult for anyone on their wedding day. But speaking as not a photographer, but almost as someone like a fly in the wall, like there are points at a wedding where it's going to get stressful, and it's accepting that is okay for things to get stressful, I think is one of the best things that anyone can really do. And take that moment to breathe and just go, this is okay. It's okay. Like, and you've got all your friends and family around there that you can delegate tasks to. You can help each other. You can support each other. Yeah. And so coming not as a photographer, but as just someone who's there on the day. And I have seen my fair share of like stressy moments. But what I always remember happens is that, I would never say this to anyone who was going through a difficult, like stressful time on the wedding day, but it's your wedding day. It's going to be incredible. And what always happens is that things work out, things happen. And, you always have the team around you to make it work, and it will work. So, maybe I think that's my advice there's so much advice I could give. Like if anyone wants to prompt me, go for it. Cause I usually just can't think of it. But if you've got any questions, ask me.
We've got questions.
Yeah. So just get on the questions. But for me, it's like accept that things are going to be stressful before the day and on the day. And by doing that, you'll just be more relaxed. And then, I think that's it. Yeah.
You're spot on. I think especially that because wedding day is so emotional, both for the bride and groom and for their families, for their parents and stuff like that, sometimes the little things can become a little bit too overwhelming. And it is fine to just stop and go, well, actually, do you know what? It's a wedding day. I want to enjoy it. I want to have a good time. That thinking that way helps as well. So I think you're spot on with that one as well.
Yeah.
Perfect. We've got a question here from our Facebook user. What's the strangest photo you have been asked to take on a wedding day?
Whoa, this is getting my brain working. It's got well, I can't. Right, two have come to mind now. Now it's picking which one. Usually it's lads. Like you turn up to the groom's house in the morning, and all the boys are like, we all want to get our asses out for a photograph. I'm like, great, okay. I have to do this. So, and then it gets weird because then I usually get into it and end up being like, "Way, lads," and then get a great shot of like 10 mooners there or something. But strangest photo. People don't actually ask me for that strange photographs. Like this is probably the boring answer that I don't want to give. But yeah, I think people. I'm so busy on a wedding, and everyone always knows. Like even when I do I do a photograph of everyone on a wedding day, like get everyone together, and I like get up on a chair, like take a photograph of everyone together, and like that takes me literally like 20 seconds to take, just get it done out of the way and do it in a nice way. And I always say, like, if anyone wants to come up to me and get a photograph of you and your family with your partner, just come and grab me and I'll do it. And like, that's a really good thing to do because then it's a great opportunity for someone to get a lovely professional photograph at a wedding. But yeah, people don't come up and ask me. I want to have a weird answer for this, but unfortunately, it's usually in the morning when I turn up at the boys' house and everything's going absolute chaos. Like there was one wedding when a guy was like, "I've got some underwear that I've had made for my wife to be," and like there were like these bright pink briefs. And then like on the crotch bit, it was like, "Hello, Mrs." with like an emoji, like with the eyebrow up like this. And I was like, yeah, she's going to like them. So that one was a weird one. Not going to disclose names, of course.
We've got one up on the screen just now as well from April.
Yeah, I photographed April and Gav's wedding. Yeah, April. Okay, fair enough. April and Gav had one of the most incredible weddings where it was over 2 days and every tradition went out the window. It was like the never-ending story mixed in with like Tolkien and all the kind of like those amazing like fairy stories. And I shouldn't probably dominate 45 minutes, but April's wedding was incredible when I photographed it. And so they were dressed as fairies and unicorns, and April's dog, they had like these little unicorn things. Those photographs were brilliant. You should have seen the wedding. Yeah,
April,
so yeah,
sounds like an amazing
wedding. Fair enough.
Absolutely perfect. There's so many questions popping in just now, but I know that we need to get moving with the next question, and we'll come back to questions at the end as well. But feel free to fire them across in the comments below. We'll do a full Q&A at the end, and I'm just going to check that we've not missed any of your questions. But guys, thank you very much so far. You're absolutely amazing. You're doing a great job, and thank you for all the comments and questions coming in as well. Okay, Hamish, are you ready for your question number 5?
Yeah, just go ahead. Yeah.
Fantastic. Brilliant. What surprises you about your role, your business at the minute, or just in general?
Ooh, well, I had to have a think about this one. And I think one of the big things about being a wedding photographer depends on what your style is. But for me, it's so much of my job is that it's not just about wedding photography. So much of the day is making sure that, like, as I said, I'm not really posing and I'm not directing, but just making sure you're going to be there at the right moments and getting the right balance of being there at the right time and making sure that things are going to happen in front of you. And you end up, like, a lot of the time, for me, I think, kind of not controlling the day, but you end up orchestrating the day, or what's the word? Like conducting the day slightly, where, if the bride and groom want some family photographs, which are really fun to do, I try and get them done and out of the way as quickly as possible in the most fun ways as well. I get everyone laughing and looking more natural in a group of people. I need to make sure that those are going to happen at the right time, and everyone's going to be there who I need. And at the same time, you end up talking with other suppliers about when they're going to start doing things, and then they ask you, when do you want to go ahead with this, and then you end up being kind of like a central part of the day, and making sure that, you know, I'm going to be there for when the bride gets in the dress, and making sure that, and so it ends up, and I end up making decisions that bizarrely don't feel like my decision to make, but it's really good that people trust me to do that. And I'm sure all wedding photographers share this with me, where wedding photography isn't just purely about wedding photography. It's making sure that it's being there at the right time, and knowing the whole time when something's happening, everyone's kind of role on the day, knowing who's the great uncle who lives in New Zealand who no one ever sees, and you have to make sure you get a photograph of those people, and make like something that, you know, I love this. Like, my mum always says to me, like, make sure you get a photograph of the mother of the bride and mother of the groom, because it gets forgotten. And we've got some family friends where that's happened, and, you know, that is part of being a wedding photographer, but it almost comes in person identification. Like, you know, you go to some weddings and there's a lot of people who are really important to the bride and groom. So making sure that you've almost like been around every room and captured images of everyone speaking to each other, and balancing that documentary style of photography with getting those couple portraits and getting those group shots, and you know, and then you end up going on the dance floor, and you end up turning into this kind of person who's there, like, capturing, and you want people to know that you want to capture great images of them dancing. And then, so yeah, it becomes like, there's so much more to wedding photography that goes on in my head than some people might think, and it's bizarre what happens. There's even more than what I've just said. I can't think of it right now because I haven't photographed a wedding in so long.
I know.
Yeah, actually, my first wedding back is tomorrow, which I'm so excited about. So I'm very ready for that. But yeah, it's so much more about that, more about than just taking photographs, and then after, you know, before the wedding, like, there's so much to do with that and after. So yeah, I think that's a very broad answer to the question.
Well, brilliant answer. Could you tell us where you're shooting the wedding tomorrow?
I am at Selby Abbey, which is in Yorkshire, and it is an absolutely stunning venue. It looks like a huge. I haven't actually photographed there before, which is, I love it. I love it when I haven't photographed at somewhere before, because everything's fresh and new, and it's not easy. You have to think about new places to go. And yeah, it's this incredible, it looks like a cathedral made of grey stone on the outside. And also the weather here in Yorkshire tomorrow is looking ridiculously hot and ridiculously sunny. So that's really good news. So it should be a really good wedding tomorrow.
Amazing. That sounds brilliant. Fantastic. And we've got just a comment that it's a lovely interview. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in and being so interactive. And we've not got any more questions just yet. We will do an open Q&A at the end as well. But if you've got questions, guys, again, just a reminder, pop them in the comments below and we'll go through them. So we're going to head to the last question now.
Mm-hmm.
So, Hamish, can you tell us one piece of advice you believe all newly engaged couples should be aware of?
Well, yeah, big question here. I think, like, one of the things is that weddings can snowball and get really big, and there's so many things and ideas route that you could go down with planning your wedding. And I think one of the biggest things is to just, like, trust your instinct, go with your heart when you see, like, it's when I always think it's compared to when you buy a house, or you when you know something's right, you go for it. So someone who's just newly engaged, you know, there's so many, it's like the wedding world is just enormous. Like, there's a billion wedding photographers. Like, there's so many of us. It's just ridiculous. And I think, you know, it can be quite overwhelming for some. For others, it's not. Like, you just get straight on it. You know what you want. But for anyone who's newly engaged and they're feeling like a bit overwhelmed, and you've got to trust your instinct and trust your heart. And, you know, you can have a lot of people pulling on you throughout the wedding planning stage, from what I've heard and you know, a lot of my couples saying. there's a lot of ways you could go down to making a day, but the day's yours. And the best weddings I go to are the ones where you really feel like you just feel the couple's personalities coming through the day. And Oskar, that's like why I love like so much of the way that you plan, because it's all about working with the couples, and and it's about that kind of getting to know someone and getting them through. And for anyone planning, it's the same thing, like for us, for like me and Oskar, as it is for you, where we want to find what is you, what makes you brilliant, and then that's what I want to photograph, what makes a day individual. And the most individual, most unique, best days are the ones where you really feel like it's the couple shining through. So you really pick something that you found lovely, or if you get a florist, it's like it really feels like that style was you. Or so I think some of the best. The one thing I always like to say is that if you're on the beginning of this journey, just trust your instinct, go with your heart, listen to your friends and family. I think some of the best things can come from recommendations and listening to word of mouth. And there's a lot of stuff on Google. Like Google cannot be your friend sometimes. Like if you type in like wedding photographer leads, like there's so many there. And I wouldn't say the first 10 is like everyone you should look at. And that's like another thing. But I think go with your heart and listen to your partner and listen to each other and find out what you want in the day, and go to wedding fairs. Like wedding fairs can be stressful, but they're really helpful. Like I'm hoping to join Oscar's wedding fair up in Scotland, and they're such a good way of meeting people and meeting. It's like you meet so many people, meet their caterers at wedding fairs, and they just go like, we just got along with the chef, and the chef just knows us. Like the chef knows what we want. So a lot of it, I think piece of advice is that.
Definitely. I think you're spot on with that one, because ultimately wedding day is just a little piece of a couple's life, and if you get to learn about them and build that rapport and build that bond with them, then you can actually create something that is very much them and for that one special day. And it is important. Absolutely. I think it just makes so much sense. And you're right. I think a lot of couples find it quite overwhelming and challenging with the initial stages of wedding planning, but actually trusting your instincts, speaking to others, asking for recommendations. And if couples are feeling a little bit overwhelmed, there will be professionals out there that will give really good advice. But again, it's kind of checking it over. That's one thing that I would say from my experience, is checking it over how reliable the information is, because there's so many people out there and everyone is, free to have their own opinions. But it's about making sure that it feels right for you and you feel confident and comfortable with that information as well. So no, absolutely, definitely, you've got a brilliant advice there for couples as well.
Yeah,
perfect. We've got lovely comments from Juliet again. Thank you very much, Juliet. So lovely for you to have joined us as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions, guys? We're actually finishing with the official questions. We've now got an open Q&A, so we'll give everyone a couple of moments to ask questions in the comments below. Like I said, if you are watching us on repeat, comment #repeat in the comments, and we will be able to come back to any questions after the live streams have finished. These videos will remain in my group, which is the interactive Facebook Lives with the Wedding Guru Oskar, and also on my Facebook page. And I know that Hamish is streaming this video at the minute to his page as well, so we can come back to any questions. But like I said at the start of the video, if you've got questions right now, we can obviously make it relevant and answer them live. And obviously, the more questions we've got, the more couples can benefit from that advice and information as well. Perfect. I'm just checking for any.
Just as anyone's writing questions at the moment, like I wrote down some hashtags and some advice that I could give now, just as anyone's writing questions. Like one of the tricky, little trick that I use up my sleeve for when I haven't photographed at a wedding venue before is I want to see what the wedding venue looks like from wedding guest perspective, or even from another photographer's perspective. And I feel like you can do that as a prospective bride and groom or a prospective couple. If you want to see how other people have seen a wedding at a wedding venue, go onto Instagram and go hashtag like the name of the venue. Yeah, there you go. That's it. Put the hashtag name of the venue and then wedding photography. So like we were talking about the Scottish wedding venue earlier, Broxmouth Park wedding photography. If you go onto that, like a number of wedding photographers will they'll hashtag their photographs with that. So like I do that for lots of my wedding venues as well that I've shot at. And that's a great way for anyone who just wants to see, it's just another way of like seeing lots of different ways that like a venue is being photographed. And then even just putting in hashtag like Broxford Park or like hashtag Denton Hall or, hashtag Middleton Lodge, like so much will come up and you'll be able to see lots. So that's a good, good part of that way of getting like some quick inspiration. And then, I'll just give out a couple more as well.
Okay.
So I'm quite a fan of Instagram. So if anyone wants to follow me. I try and post like every day, but usually that doesn't happen. But there's one hashtag which I love, which is called Under the Floral Spell, which I think is probably like one of the lamest hashtags. It sounds so cringy and like lovely, but it's really good. So it's basically like a bunch of florists doing it's a great hashtag for florists really, and some incredible colors get put up there and color schemes. So it's really good to almost like, if you're thinking about a color scheme, you can kind of look at the stream and see some examples. And a lot of the really unique stuff from like really top end weddings comes out of America, and I think there's a lot of incredible American wedding florists who are posting to that, as well as British ones and across the world. So that one's good. Another good one is hashtag wedding style. This one's like quite a standard one, but it's got lots of table decorations, just all kinds of stuff, like a little bit like if you were to use hashtag wedding inspo, like lots comes on it. And so if you follow it, you just get like a general, like a good general feed of information. And so I'll give you another one. This is an account called @LoveMyDress. So this is an actual like blog, and they do lots of the minute, up to date wedding information and news. So if you follow them, it just seems like they're always posting quite up to date things. Like even with COVID stuff, that's why they're so on my radar. They've kind of been posting stuff that comes out of the minute, and ideas and things of ways of getting around things and inspo. And so that's a really good account. Another one is hashtag Brides Up North. So this is like, @Brides Up North. Sorry. These guys are an account which is local to me, and they're like they do, so it's a wedding directory, and they do wedding fairs, and then they have a blog, and it's run by this incredible team of just inspirational wedding lovers, and they're just a great example of wherever you are in the UK or in the world, there tend to be regional wedding directories or outlets or whatever you want to say, and these guys are Yorkshire. Like Oscar's been featured in one of the Scottish ones. I can't remember what it's called. And then there's London. So there's all ones. And this is the one for my, like I say, the best in my region. There's another one called The Wedding Affair. And that could be a great way of finding wedding fairs to go to. So that's good. And then this is a photography one for anyone who is a massive nerd like me when it comes to photography. Hashtag This Is Reportage This Is Reportage. Again, it's an account. This is like a collective of wedding photographers who get anyone who's a really awesome documentary wedding photographer to send in their work. And the guy, I think it's Alan Law, he's an amazing documentary wedding photographer. He collates it and puts lots of images through it. And there's just awesome wedding photographs on there, like jaw-dropping, like how the hell did any photographer capture that? on that. So yeah, whenever you go through this as reportage, you're a bit like, how did a photographer capture that image? It's just as if it happened. So there's a lot of like weird and wonderful, and you wouldn't expect to see it. And it's just a lovely, I think it's a great feed for cool wedding photography that's a bit off the wall and different. So I would recommend checking that out as well. And yeah, that's all my hashtags. There's loads, but those are my like top pick of ones which I think actually can be really helpful and just fun. So there you go. And that's all my information. Yeah.
Fantastic. There was actually one question, and Hamish, I'm just going to go back. I've just discovered it. It's from somebody based in Edinburgh, I'm assuming. The question is, what's your rate, especially if you have to travel up north, for example, to Edinburgh? I think obviously the questions of rates, I can fire that across to you later. But I'm assuming you travel like you said, everywhere in the UK.
Yeah, I do. I travel around the country, and also like I'm quite open about my rates. I think a lot of photographers will keep it to themselves, but for me, like I like to just, it's on my front page, so I might as well just say it. So yeah, I travel across the country, and like I love Scotland, and yeah, I mean I like absolutely love Edinburgh. I hope to live there one day as well. So yeah, for me, traveling around the UK is part of what makes being a wedding photographer great. I don't want to be shooting at the same places all the time. So yeah, my prices, I charge 1,750, and that's like an all-day rate. So I'm there from start to finish. Don't have a time limit. Do charge travel expenses. But yeah, like if you want to get in touch and have a chat, get in touch. But yeah, I'm quite open about my rate. Like it's on my homepage, so you're going to see it anyway. You don't need to ask me a question. But yeah, I travel across the country and have been trying to get as many abroad weddings as possible. But what always happens is that people always get in touch too late, and I'm already booked. So that's another piece of advice for anyone. If you like a supplier, just go ahead and ask them if they're available, because you know, so much of the time, like we're booked. Like I got an inquiry. I actually drove down from Scotland today, and I had an inquiry on the phone. And I do get a lot of inquiries which people expect me to be free mid-summer 2021. Like those dates went quite a while ago, but I still have lots of dates free, and I'm sure lots of photographers do. Like, so don't be put off getting in touch. But yeah, if you like someone, get in touch with them.
Highly recommend that as well. It's one of my advice always mentioned to couples not to, especially with suppliers that are one-man band, just like yourself, you know, photographers, your even entertainment bands or DJs, your people celebrants, human celebrants or independent celebrants that conduct ceremonies. These guys, like, you wouldn't believe it, but like people get booked up 2-3 years in advance, and it is important if you've got that report to reach out to them and make sure that you've got your dates secure that way as well. I think it is very important to note as well. Okay, I'm just going to check for any other questions. I think that is pretty much all the questions answered. So if you don't mind, Hamish, I'm just going to wrap things up for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
So something from my side of things, as I'm hosting this interview today, I help couples throughout entire wedding planning. I can help with dramatically reducing the time you spend on your wedding planning. I can do one-off consultations. I've dealt with quite a few DIY weddings where they just needed that reassurance and comfort of knowing that everything is done. And it's quite a nice and easy way to make sure that you're not feeling overwhelmed or stressed closer to the wedding. A lot of couples use that 1 hour consultation just in the final lead up to the wedding to make sure that everything is boxed up, and we can write it down and we can formulate it into like a final details form. The other thing that I also do is on-the-day coordination, particularly popular with dry hire venues, barns, venues that maybe have not got wedding coordinators or have got wedding coordinators, but they might not be there on the wedding day. Just giving that helping hand on the wedding day and making sure that there's a person that knows the entire plan and can actually ensure that it all happens and it is run smoothly. And the other thing is obviously full wedding planning. That's anything from inquiry through the entire wedding planning, liaison with suppliers, booking suppliers, confirming things with them, and attending appointments, being there on the wedding day, and just looking after the entire process and journey, and particularly popular with busy couples who have our time for and need a bit more support, maybe a bit more advice, guidance, and just an overall support with wedding planning. So if that's something of interest to yourselves, you can go ahead and book your free consultation on my website today. I'm just going to pop my details up on the screen. But I think that summarises things quite nicely for us today. Massive thanks, Hamish, again for your time. I see there's no more questions, and so I just wanted to wrap things up. Any final remarks, Hamish, you would want to mention before we head away?
Say that again, sorry.
Any final statements? Any final questions or advice you would want to give out?
I'd say if anyone is watching this back and wants to ask me a question, please just drop me a message on Facebook or Instagram, whatever. Be really happy to help out. Just want to say massive thank you to Oskar. Honestly, thank you so much for having me on. It's an absolute pleasure. And anyone who's still with us now, thanks so much for listening. Absolute honor to be invited by you on. Thank you so much. Oskar is absolutely incredible. Take up the 15-minute insight call. It'll be really worthwhile. Well worth your while. Thank you so much again.
Commitment free, so I can just chat through things and hopefully help a little bit as well. But thank you again, Hamish. Amazing advice. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much, everyone who joined us and participated and asked the questions. Just made it so much more special and so much more informative and educational for everyone. If you've got any questions for either Hamish or I after this video, send us a DM on Instagram, Facebook, or any other of our platforms, or pop the questions in the comments below. We will be going through all the comments later as well. And if you are watching on repeat, comment #repeat in the comments below, and we'll come back to your questions after this stream is finished as well. Guys, it's been a pleasure. You have a wonderful evening. And again, thank you very much, Hamish. Have a great time.
Thank you. Thanks so much, guys. See you later.
Bye.